Hello and welcome to this episode of Untold Chapters with AustinMacauley Publishers. Today we have an exclusive interview with Ken Ward, author of Straw, Blood and Bones, a second investigation for Detective Inspector Ray Keane. Stay tuned to hear about the inspiration behind the characters and this tale in the remote English countryside. Good morning, Ken. Welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you here to discuss your latest novel, Straw, Blood and Bones. Can you tell us a bit about the genesis of this series and what inspired you to write about crime thrillers?
Yes, certainly. Thank you for having me. It's really nice to be here. Well, I suppose to go back to sort of like writing and that, and how I got into crime novels, you have to go back to my teenage years, I'm afraid. I've always been an avid reader, and during my teenage years, it was very much a case I just read everything and anything. And then in the mid-70s, I discovered Colin Dexter and the Inspector Morse novels. And I read his first one, and that really hooked me into the crime genre. So I always then read crime novels, always enjoyed them. And then, I suppose, early 90s, I thought, I don't know, I might have a go at this writing lark. So I got an old typewriter out of a cupboard, a ream of paper that then became a ream of waste paper because I realised I had a lot to learn. That was something that it happened. I did it, but I was relatively happy the fact that I was writing, but it wasn't anything that I would want anybody to read. So I pushed that to one side and just went back to being a reader. Yes, yeah. Say you sort of sit there surrounded by these scraps of paper, and you think, well, there's got to be something in there somewhere, and I dare say possibly there was, but it took quite a few years to come out. Well, basically, it features the same team of police officers, and my main character, D.I. Ray Keane. They're based in King's Lynn, in the middle of Norfolk, and as I say, as you asked about the Norfolk countryside, it lends itself to crime genres and crime novels. It's very atmospheric. And they get a phone call that there's been a body found in the middle of a farmer's field. When they arrive, they find that the body had been discovered by the farmer as he was combining. And the gist of the story is the criminals had hoped their victim would be dispensed with via the combine harvester. It didn't work out quite how they wanted it to. So the police now have a body and they have to find out exactly what happened. And as the story progresses, they end up being involved in the world of drug dealing and corruption amongst people in authority. My books are always very much what I class as police procedural books. It is the investigation of the police to find the criminal and uncover the case, rather than anyone having to guess who the criminal is. I'd write more so from the point of view of the police.
Can you talk a bit about the research that went into writing this novel? Did you draw inspiration from any real life events or cases at all?
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. Sure, there has been, but not that I'm aware of. Basically, my inspiration, I suppose inspiration for all the stories, do just come out of my mind. Straw, Blood and Bones came about while I'd worked for 4 years on a friend's farm. We were doing potato harvesting, and it's busy, but it's also quite mundane work. So while I'm sitting there or standing there sorting potatoes, I'm thinking, how can this develop into a story? So, and that's where the farm become involved with it. So yeah, inspiration is all around us, I suppose. As a writer, you're always looking for ideas. My wife is very much into her gardening, and we go out for walks and we visit gardens. And she will say to me, "Oh, that flower looks nice." And I say, "Yeah, look over there, that'd be an ideal place to hide a body, wouldn't it?" So the inspiration is always there, and I'm always thinking about it.
How did the idea for the character of D.I. Ray Keane come about? What qualities or experiences did you want to embody in him?
Yeah, he came about after I joined a local writing group in 2009, and it was at our local doctor's surgery, because they actually found a link between anybody who had physical or mental illness and writing. And I'd been diagnosed with arthritis in my spine, so I sort of suffered mild depression at certain times. I just went along to this writing group, and one of the exercises was that we were walking through our local park, and you had to write a paragraph because something happened, and it could be anything. And mine was that someone got killed, and therefore the police got involved. And that's where D.I. Ray Keane developed from. People have said that, was he based on myself? I don't honestly think he was, but I do know that some of his traits are very much what mine are, and that's something that's going to happen because we're the person who's developing this character. So he is very much, he does say in one of the books that he doesn't suffer with OCD, he just likes things in their place, and that is very much myself. I'm very much, everything has a place, and I like to put it there so it's tidy. So, and I also wanted a policeman who didn't have a lot of baggage. I wanted a policeman that was working as a policeman in normal life, if you like. So that's how he came about and how I hope he's developing.
Do you have a favourite character to write about other than D.I. Keane?
Mainly, well, yeah, mostly the whole team. I enjoy writing all the characters. It was quite nice. There's in Time for Revenge, Superintendent Adam Church is always on to Ray about watching the budgets and finances, as I dare say most police stations have an officer who has to watch the finances and that. So he was from a different aspect. I actually put in the book that Ray always thought he was a paperwork policeman. He was very happy filling out spreadsheets. And so, yeah, but I do enjoy writing all my characters. And it's quite interesting in how some of those characters take over the story. And say Time for Revenge, I think, has to be the first time it happened to me, in that the ending of the book, I always know the start of my book, and I always know the end of the book. My task then is to get from A to B. And the end of the book changed totally because of what a character did. And that literally changed the ending of the book. And it was quite interesting because it was the first time it had actually happened that I'd realised this character was driving the story rather than myself.
So you touched a little bit on this, I think, but can you describe your writing process for the series?
4 weeks ago, I started a new job, but my writing routine is whenever I have the time to write, and I still do write. As such, I try and write every day. Even if it's only half an hour, I will write every day. If I'm on a day off and I have the opportunity, then my writing day starts about 7:30 in the morning. I have a summer house in our garden that during the first pandemic lockdown, I changed it from a storage area, which is what it become, and it's now insulated and boarded, got electricity in it, so I can have my coffee machine on the go. So I'm normally down here from about 7:30 in the morning, and I will write for 4 or 5 hours straight, and that's what I find works well for me. It's to write in the morning, and then my afternoons are either advertising the books that are out or catching up on my own reading. I also like to read every day, and I read all the time. But yeah, my writing routine is write in the mornings, and as I say, I normally try and do between 4 and 5 hours as time allows.
Are there any other authors, apart from Colin Dexter, that have influenced your writing style?
Yeah, I suppose I've actually just recently, even though I've always enjoyed watching, and I don't actually watch a lot of TV. I'd rather have music on and be reading. But I've recently got into reading quite a few Agatha Christie books. And even though I know the stories because you've seen them on TV, I'm enjoying reading those. I've also come across so many new authors to me since COVID, and I've had the honour of meeting several of those authors, and that has been very nice. But yeah, I suppose Agatha Christie. I've read I've read all the Colin Dexter. If it's got the word crime in an advert for a book, then I will look at it, and it goes onto my to be read list. Fortunately, I do my reading on the Kindle, so the to be read file isn't going to fall over and cause any damage to anybody. But the to be read pile is quite big. I think I've got to have quite a long lifespan to read them all now. Crime genre in general, I will give it a go.
Are you working on a sequel at all for the series? Can you tease anything about what readers might be able to expect?
So yeah, there is a sequel that's finished. It's going through some of its edits at the moment, and it actually is quite interesting because anybody that's read the books and understands about the character of Ray Keane, he is basically a workaholic. He's always been very much into his work. So all of a sudden, at the end of Straw, Blood and Bones, because he has a relationship with one of his team that is now out in the open, he decides he wants to take a holiday, which is something that has never sort of crossed his mind. So him and his girlfriend take a cruise holiday, but it's never just going to be a cruise, is it? It's crime. So, and all I can say is there is a body discovered on the cruise ship at the same time that a couple 100 miles away in Norfolk, there is another body discovered. And of course, there's a link. So that book is finished, written, ready to be edited and then go from there. There is another one started in the series. And about 18 months ago now, I published a short story on a Facebook group. And because of the response I got, and that was with totally different characters that had no real thought in mind, but it was just a short story. but there was quite a few positive comments about wanting to know what happened to this character. But that's just because I enjoy writing.
Well, that's been really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Ken, for taking the time to appear in this
That's all right.
episode of Untold Chapters.
Yeah,
It's been great talking to you and having you share your story with us.
yeah. Thank you very
Thank you for listening to the latest episode of Untold Chapters. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. There'll be a link in the description for our author Ken Ward and his book Straw, Blood and Bones. If you're listening on Spotify, please follow and give this episode your 5-star review.